about ideas and talk. You are the people who make Raspberry Jam work. I just had this crazy idea that we'd all come together and share these things, and people in Cambridge and Manchester and Melbourne and Amsterdam and Osnabrück in Germany, and all these people have thought, oh, that's a great idea, let's have it. So, SimonMonk, first of all. SimonMonk, you came to Hacks the Future, supported, and you came to Media City in our Meet the Geek event. Yeah. Simon is famous, you might not know this, but Simon is famous for writing lots of books. Like The Evil Mad Arduino Genius. Is that book you've brought with you tonight?
I've brought a few with me, just in case. No one has an opportunity.
Okay, so Simon's got lots of interesting things to share, so big it up for Simon.
Thank you very much. What I'm going to talk about today is using your Raspberry Pi with something called an Arduino. I know kind of 2/3 of you have got Raspberry Pis, and I would hope you all know what your Raspberry Pis are, otherwise you're probably in the wrong room. But how many people have come across Arduino? Oh, okay, good. Right, quite a big proportion. Right, so one of the things about the Raspberry Pi is that it has the GPIO ports on, that in principle you can connect electronics to and have it control things, turn relays on and off and all that kind of thing. But one of the snags with that is that it's the GPIO pins are quite kind of low power and a little bit delicate, so to really make use of them you kind of need to do some kind of buffering to make use of them safely, to make sure that you're not going to end up frying your Pi. So an alternative to that is to actually use something that's been out for a long while for doing this kind of input-output, and that's the Arduino boards. That's kind of what it's designed for. It's a little microcontroller board. This is one. Actually, I'll pass it around if anybody wants to have a closer look at it. As long as I get it back. So it's very, very, very weedy compared with what you get on a Raspberry Pi, but that's not really what it's it's not intended to be a computer. It doesn't even have an operating system. You write a program for it, but that program operates when the thing reboots. No operating systems, no overhead. 2K of memory, a tiny amount of flash memory for putting a little program on in C. But it's all about doing input-output and simple to control applications. So we'll come back to that in a second. So first of all, as Alan said, I write books, mostly about Arduino and other types of open source hardware, and I'll just get the plug-in now and then shut up about it. There are some leaflets here that have got lists of the books that I've published on it, please. I'm interested in Raspberry Pi because I'm in the process of writing a book about it for McGraw-Hill. So events like this are great to find out what exactly the focus of the book should be, so that we kind of sort of get produce something that's useful to people. So what is an Arduino? As I said, it's a little interface board, it's working its way around. It's got a USB connector, and it's got a power connector. It can be powered over USB, but I've been reluctant to do that with the Raspberry Pi just because I have tried it, to be perfectly honest, and I think partly because I've got a fairly weedy power supply running my Raspberry Pi, it doesn't really get enough, it doesn't really supply enough current to go all the way through to the Arduino and power it. So today I've got an Arduino board that's actually got an external power adapter, and its USB connector is connected up to the Raspberry Pi. Arduino comes with its own software, and you write simple little programs for it. So this is the blink and LED type program. We say we want the LED pin to be an output, we set it high, we delay for half a second, we set it low, we delay for another half second, and go round and round forever, and that makes it flash. There's lots of different types of Arduino, just for anybody who's interested in these things. And we also get Arduinos that got built-in Ethernet connections, built-in USB host. You can get variants of Arduino for controlling remote control planes and all sorts of things. The other thing that makes the Arduino popular as an interface board is that there's a huge range of plug-in shields you can get. So as you see the board going round, you'll see it's got like a set of header pins, and you can plug board on top of it, and you can get boards for Ethernet, motor drivers, controlling relays, LCD displays, all sorts of sensors, that kind of thing. And you can just plug these on them, and you can actually make quite a deep sort of stack. So you don't just have to have a single shield on top of an Arduino, you can plug lots of things in. So this is quite a nice way of adding extra features to your Raspberry Pi to give it extra things to control, because your Raspberry Pi can talk over the USB connection to your Arduino that can do read values from temperature sensors to relays on and off, and do all this proper stuff, hardware type of stuff. So I'm going to show you just a little example. I'm risking doing a live demo, which is probably a disaster. So it probably won't work at all. But I've got my Raspberry Pi here, and this is connected by the USB connection to the Arduino. Probably worth coming and having a look afterwards if you want to. And I'm able to show what's going on my Raspberry Pi because I'm running Vnc Server on the Raspberry Pi. Has anybody discovered that trick as a good way of seeing what's going on your Raspberry Pi? Yeah, it's great because you don't necessarily always want to have to find a TV and a keyboard and mouse to plug your Raspberry Pi into if you're using it next to another computer. So you can run a Vnc server, and that allows you to share the screen of a Raspberry Pi on any desktop computer that connects to it. So let's have a look at that. Okay, so I think there's really no hope of you being able to read this code, so I won't really try and go through it. But what I'm actually running there is I've just got there's a Python program there, and all it does is create this little user interface here that's got 4 buttons on it: A up, A down, B up, and E down. That's the entire program, and it uses a library, a Python library called Serial, that just allows you to do serial communications. And it's doing the serial communications through the device that actually maps onto the Arduino connected to the USB board. So, will it work? What do we think? Yeah! So you can say A down, B up, B down. Okay, so a nice sort of simple demonstration of the sort of thing you could do. You probably wouldn't want, you could just about, with a bit of hard work, Ben's GPIO library. I don't know if you have you, Ben, have you, what's Ben's on? Oh, sorry. Have you tried doing driving a server? Can you generate pulses at the right sort of rate?
No, all I've tried doing so far is LEDs.
Right.
That's sophisticated as I've got.
Okay, yeah. It might just about do it, because you can get about 800 Hz from the GPIO library. The GPIO library is another Python library that allows you to control the ports on the
Raspberry Pi case with a breadboard interface on the side of it.
All right.
And it's got buffering and books power of it.
Yes, there's quite a few things like the Pi
It's
base.
made by the Sensibly case, the Perspex case is on that they've got over there.
All right, okay. Yeah.
If you want to find out whether I find them, and then you'll be able to find the breadboard.
Right, okay. All right, yeah. No, I'll look for that. Okay. So that's really all I think I've probably actually got time to show you. One of the other things, I have got a demo that I'll probably set up later, and people can just come and have a look at it, is to have the communication go in the other direction. So what I've got here is a little ultrasonic US rangefinder that will plug onto the Arduino, and then it'll measure the distance for whatever it's being pointed at, and then report back that to a little Python program that just displays it. So I only really got all of this working yesterday, so it's kind of a little bit hurried, but I think it sort of demonstrates that really an Arduino and a Raspberry Pi make quite good companions for doing this kind of communication.
So have you made the Arduino as a library that'll talk to the Raspberry Pi, or you're just doing it as a one-off sort of style?
It's just a one-off at the moment. Yeah.
That's what you need really, isn't it, to make it easy for us less than what
It's not, it's really, let me show you the script for it, because you'll be surprised just how, that's the entire script for the surveys.
Oh.
And most of that, if you get an Arduino program that goes on to 2 pages, it probably means you made it too complicated. generally speaking, it's really quite concise.
It was the communication with the Pi that I was thinking.
Yeah, the communication with the Pi is just serial.begin turns serial communication on, and then serial.available checks whether there's anything in the buffer to be read, and if there is, it reads it as a character, and then it's just a 4 conditions. If the character is A, put the servo up, down. That's on the
And is
Arduino.
it relatively easy to go the other way as well, just to
Yeah.
read what's come back?
Yeah, going the other way, you just do, you would just on there, you would say, oh, do you mean what's happening on the Pi?
Like when you're doing your sensor, is the code going the other way?
Yeah.
A similar shortness.
Yes, it is, exactly. I mean, all you would do is you'd have serial.write, and then you could either send a string or a byte or whatever you wanted. And then on your Python script, all you have to do is have a loop that's listening for incoming data on that connection. And then when it receives something, again, act on it, like display it on the screen. Okay, that's it really. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Simon. I've got some of these books, they're very lovely. Especially these little make ones, you can just spend hours and hours flicking through all the diagrams. So